It's just taking its time. That's all right. Okay, there we go. All right, we're started. So welcome to the first live class of lifetime activities. Okay, this lesson is going to be recorded. I just always have my virtual expectations as we're going through this. Make sure we're following along with the Nearpod lesson. Use the chat tool respectfully and appropriately, and then respond to questions and instructions the first time. So what we do, let's do this first, I guess. Okay. So what we always do at the beginning, since it's a PE class, right? We got to do this. We got to get moving, running around, that kind of stuff. Okay. So I'm not going to go for the full 30 seconds, but this is something you could do for your activity logs here. First one we talk about is running in place. Got to move my camera up a little bit. Okay. All right, so just kind of jog in place for 30 seconds. This will start getting your heart rate up, and it actually helps your brain function a little bit better too, right? I guess that's what I call it, brain fuel. So you want to do that for 30 seconds. We'll do some arm circles. You can do these forwards or backwards. You can do small circles, or you can do bigger circles. They work different muscles as you do each. But being able to stretch out and get your body moving makes you feel good. Next one's calf raises. Can't really kind of show you here, but you just get up on your toes, right? Maybe stand up there for a second, let it down. Flexibility is pretty important as you're going through your life. And then the last one's a squat hold. Now, I know some people have issues with knees and stuff like that. If you can't get down in the squat, let me put this down a little more. So you want to get down in a squat like this. You can't get a squat, you can just go right against the wall and do it like a wall sit. And that kind of helps there. You'll feel your legs start to burn and get there. But those are some things that you can do for your activity logs. And we'll go from there. Oh, so somebody said, okay, I was going to take the test the other week. Broke. Oh, that's not good. Hopefully that instructor's all right, but hopefully get your license soon there. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll talk about the activity logs. It's not a huge issue, so we'll figure it out. But those are some activities you can do. So at the beginning of each of these classes, either it's a live class or a recorded class that I do, I'll give you some options to kind of do there. Okay. Before I move on with the Nearpod lesson here, what I'm going to do is just go over the class. Now, I do have just the live lessons on the first and third Wednesday here at 8:30. I know not everybody is able to make it at that point in time, but you'll always have the recording that I post right here to the course announcements. Okay. As we look at what's going on here, I will post here right on the calendar if it's a live class or a recorded class. So if you don't remember, okay? So right now it's a live class, and what we talk about in the class will be due on Tuesday, and I'll just go and I'll put that in, zero it out. If you don't get it done, it's okay. I'm always going to allow time to make it up, but it's better just to kind of stay on track, okay? So you said there's some confusion about the activity log. Yeah, let's look at that in just a second here. Let me go back. So let's go into content. So if we look at the beginning here, so you had 3 assignments this last week. You had the orientation quiz, okay? And the word of the week is found in the recording. So you're gonna have to go back and watch the recording, okay, to find the word of the week. And I'll show you how this works in this lesson. And you can do these as many times as you want. See how it says unlimited quizzes? Or you can look for it in the Nearpod link. So you're going to have to actually go in there and either watch the recording or do the Nearpod link, one or the other, okay? That's how you get the content for the class. Then you'll do the orientation quiz. This is a little get to know me quiz. The best way to do it, okay, is click these Google links right here. So as I click these, and I'm going to click this one too, it's going to say make a copy for me, okay? So you're going to go make a copy. You will have what is it called? I can't even think of what I'm talking about right now. Anyways, you have to have a Google account. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay. All right. So this get to know me, you just fill this stuff out and you can either turn in the link or download it. So if you go to here, you can go to share and you can copy the link and give me the access to the link or whatever through and just put it into right here, the get to know me sheet. Okay. Or as you see, I copied over this link. Now it's your link. Okay. And you can edit it. So you can even edit, like, I just need 5 days that showing that you did something, right? Like 30 minutes or so worth of work. Okay. And this could be anything. So somebody asked if they could do like the virtual reality, like workout stuff. I'm completely fine with that. Okay. As long as it gets your heart rate up. That's what I want to do, is get your heart rate up, get moving a little bit and on there. So you can just go in here and you can type in the date. I don't know where people are talking about saying it says March. I don't see that on here, but you should be able to edit this document in order to make it fit whatever week you're in, or however. It doesn't even need to be Monday through Thursday. It could be, Sunday to Thursday or something, or you missed a day, you could have done Monday, Tuesday, whatever. Okay. If it gets your heart rate up. Yep. So that's going to be my standard there. Does it get your heart rate up? Okay. I've been horseback riding. I get scared to death. So I'm sure my heart rate's up at that point in time. So I guess that would work. Okay. So that's how that all works there. Okay. Going back to this week. So this coming week, we have 2 things due. We have the history of sports and dance quiz. And we also have the activity week log 2. Okay. The activity week log. So just if you were like in a brick and mortar class where you have to go to like gym and you'd have to, get and do exercise in there. That's the main part of this class, is your activity. Learning about different stuff to do is important, but it's really about getting active, getting moving, that kind of stuff, and learning those activities you can do out throughout your life. So that's what lifetime activities is all about. There are 6 total units. Okay. So you're going to have 6 activity logs. And right now I only have, for the full-time students, I just unlock it every week. Okay. As we go back to here, you'll see that we have a week off basically because of Thanksgiving. And then we'll have winter break, but we should have everything done before we go on winter break. Okay. If you need to make some things up, you have all the way until January 12th to get it done. So you do have quite a bit of time to be able to do that. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go back to Nearpod lessons. So what I want you to do is build what they say, keep pace. So participate, be positive, encourage others, add to the lesson, be active presence, take notes, ask questions. And then continuous. This is what we want to strive for, is about 30 minutes of continuous, moderate to vigorous activity. So basically just somehow getting your heart rate up. Okay. And then elevate yourself, how you can be motivated to be better, meet goals, all that kind of stuff. You strained your muscle last week. I'm sorry to hear that. Sounds like you were working hard. Okay, so here's what we are. How can you do better in this class? Well, here's the biggest thing. If you turn in your weekly quizzes and activity logs, you're going to pass, okay? If you haven't turned them in yet, go in and turn them in. I'll still grade them. I'll still accept them, okay? So those are the 2 things you really need to do. Okay, word of the week. So in the quizzes, there's always going to be a word of the week. So the first letter of the word is C. So you'll want to write that down, okay? So C is the first letter. Okay, so what we're going to be going over class today is we're going to be going over basically sports, games, dance, all that kind of stuff that happens around the world. Depending on where you live, there's different kind of activities that are good. Like, for example, we like American football here in the United States, right? That's like one of our biggest sports. But American football is not popular except in America, right? Over in other countries, usually their football is soccer, and that's one of the biggest things that they do, okay? Yeah, so this is for the second week right now, okay? So the first letter was C. Okay, so the origin of sports and dance. It universally appears in every culture, both past and present. And then each culture basically has its own definition. So as you can see here, people like American football. It's a lot different than some of the other, activities they do in other countries, dancing and stuff. Okay, the second letter you want to write down is H. Okay. So CH. That's going to be starting your word of the week. So you may be thinking, like, where did this all begin? Okay. So back with the Paleo Indians, right? That's basically the hunter-gatherer, almost like cavemen, right? They had their own, we're going to discuss what they did, okay? Is the word case sensitive? No, it will not be case sensitive. So these are Paleo-American Indians. We're going to talk about what they did for, their rituals, their dancing, their sports. Chinese Empire, what they did for theirs, and then also ancient Greece. We're going to go over all three of those. First, before we do that, we're going to just watch a video to talk about a brief history of sports.
Ah, sports. The word comes from the Old French desporter or deporter, meaning to take pleasure or entertain, and that's the whole point of sports, to entertain people. The first evidence of sporting activities goes back to cave drawings, more specifically depictions of running and wrestling in France that date back over 15,000 years, as well as 12,000-year-old Egyptian depictions of swimming and archery. It's believed that the switch from hunter-gatherer to farming left hunters with not as much to do, and seeing as running, wrestling, archery, and swimming are all things involved in hunting, this makes sense. Also, it gave the people something to do other than sit around fires and tell stories. I mean, hunters would still hunt. The Neanderthals didn't wipe themselves out, but not nearly as much. It also kept warriors in shape for when they needed to, warrior, and in many cases replaced warfare as the way for villages to compete against one another. We found tablets showing wrestling in Sumer dating back to 3000 BC, as well as this statue of wrestlers from 2600 BC. It's also believed that boxing may have originated in Sumer. We've also found evidence from Egypt dating back to around 2000 BC that shows wrestling, weightlifting, long jump, high jump, swimming, rowing, javelin throwing, archery, and fishing. And of course, the ancient Greeks held the Olympics at least as far back as 776 BC. Sports developed in pretty much every civilization. Kuju was an early version of soccer introduced in China during the 2nd or 3rd century BC. Hurling in Ireland actually predates writing in that area and goes back to at least 1200 BC. The ancient Greeks had a ball game called episkairos, which the Romans took and changed, because that's kind of what Romans did, into their version known as harpaustum. Greece and Rome also loved chariot racing, and the Romans, of course, had their gladiators that fought each other or wild animals. Ancient Persia invented early versions of polo and jousting. There's evidence of sports being played in North America at least back to 5000 BC. And of course, Japan had sumo wrestling, which was first mentioned in 712. That's 712 AD, not BC. Now, when a lot of people think of sports in history, they tend to think of medieval jousting tournaments where knights would practice and hone their combat skills through jousting on horses as well as sword fighting on foot. These tournaments were an important part of creating and maintaining the the ideal of chivalry. However, jousting began to fall out of fashion, and by the mid-1600s had all but been replaced with non-combat horse sports. Yeah, I know I could have said equestrian, but we're going with horse sports. Typically involving the knights either riding in a circle and tossing a ball to each other, or trying to get their lance into a suspended ring. These were known as carousel, and yeah, that's where the name for the ride comes from. The British, for the most part, are where the push for team sports came from. Shrovetide football goes back to the 1100s, and the Brits were also responsible for the creation of cricket, pool, hockey, and bowling. Spectator sports have become more prevalent, many believe as a way to get away from the drudgery of everyday life and to offer common people something bigger than themselves to be a part of and root for. And some sports have existed for thousands of years but weren't particularly popular, such as boxing, which rose significantly in popularity after 1867, and the introduction of the Marquis of Queensberry rules, which set the size of the ring, the length of the rounds, which was 3 minutes with a 1 minute rest between each round, added the 10 count for knockdowns, forbade wrestling and grappling, and required the use of gloves. It also grew in popularity among males of the upper class as a way to stay manly or something or other. Teddy Roosevelt was a perfect example of this. The president was a huge fan of boxing to the extent that he continued to hold boxing matches while in the White House, and supposedly was partially blinded in one eye during a sparring session in 1905 with Colonel Daniel T. Moore, who was a frequent opponent of Roosevelt as well as a military aide and his cousin-in-law. They kept this a secret for over a decade, by the way, and eventually Roosevelt had to stop boxing as he got older and arthritis set in. But I mean, we gotta admit, that man truly was a bull moose. Oh, and rolling back to the Romans and their zany antics in the Colosseum, in addition to gladiators fighting or people being eaten, they would also reenact battles, and this included flooding the Colosseum in order to recreate naval battles. Now, that would have been a sight to see. Get it? Naval, sea.
All right, so that gave us quite a bit of breakdown of a lot of things that basically have happened throughout time, of how people kind of entertained each other through sports, dance, all that kind of stuff. So the third letter, you want to write this down, is A. So we have CHA now. Okay, so the Paleo Indians, or Paleolithic Era. So the things that they did, so taxidermy. So hunting was very big back then, of course, for food and everything like that. But they also used it as almost trophies, right? Taxidermy is going in and displaying different body parts, that kind of stuff on there. You have deer, heads. You've probably seen those that have been created, but it's something that's always dated back since then. You also have different dances that happen. Is this used for communication, rituals? As you see them dancing around a fire. We do the same thing today. You got the cheerleaders out in the football games and stuff like that, doing different cheers, dances, that kind of stuff. So it started all the way back then. And also the displaying of skins or skulls as trophies, and being able to show that, what you have done. Today, our trophies look a little bit different. They could be medals, they could be all stuff like that. But that is back with the Paleo Indians. If we look at the ancient Chinese, they had a lot of different things that trace back to about 4000 BC. Archery was some of those, sword play, ancient football. So kind of they call it chiju, which is kicking a ball around. Ice skating, Chinese golf, polo. All of these things are something they created. That also dancing. Dancing was used for mating, communication, rituals, and other offerings, as they do to celebrate different times of the year. Okay, your fourth letter is N, so now you have CHAN. Okay, ancient Egypt. So ancient Egypt had a range of sports. The pharaohs indicated they from swimming to fishing, javelin throwing, gymnastics, hockey, handball, high jump, and wrestling. It's not the hockey that we're kind of thinking of. This would be like a different, not ice hockey, but a different hockey where you have sticks and going around there. But that was something they did to entertain themselves and keep in shape. Ancient Greece was military cultural influence. They did wrestling, running, boxing, javelin, discus, and chariot racing was prevalent. This is where the Olympics games began, was in Greece. Okay, and this happened every 4 years. We've continued on with that tradition. We actually have a summer games and a winter games now, and there's been different sports that have been added and taken away. But it's somewhere that we could perform sports, dance, and then artistic talents. As you can see, chariot racing, boxing, dancing, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, your fifth letter is G, so you have C-H-A-N-G. Okay, so you can look at here throughout the times, American sports and timeline of dance. As you can see, dancing is at the top here, different types of dancing throughout the time. Colonial America, which led to the Industrial Revolution. Now we have different dances. Our dances look a lot different today. We have a lot of people that go to dance lessons. I know my daughter's done dance lessons. She loves that. We have like cheerleading, which is different. We still do have these social gatherings for like school dances. We do hold prom here at UTVA at the state capitol. So invite you to go to that. With our sports, we've kind of evolved there from like horse racing there to more 20th century sports, which would be, like maybe baseball, boxing, MMA is something that's been big that kind of came up. Then we have our big sports like the NBA or Major League Base or, American football, the NFL, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. If you look at how many people and what they like, talking about estimated followers or fans, soccer is the biggest, okay? Because it's globally with 4.4 billion people. Cricket is actually the next, then field hockey, tennis, volleyball, table tennis, basketball, baseball, rugby, and golf. American football doesn't even get on this list yet, okay? So it's kind of interesting. We have our American culture that follows that one. All these other sports are maybe a little bit more there. So today's dance, kind of interesting. We have Bollywood dance in India, ballet Russia, Spain, break dancing. It seems like more of that kind of stuff. The United States, Middle East is belly dancing. Argentina, tango. I don't even know what some of these are. Cuba, the salsa. I know what salsa, and the samba in Brazil. So all of those different things. And they're really kind of good workouts too. If you've done any of those dancing, a lot of moving around. So here's a question for you guys. What changes in sports and dance do you predict for the years to come? Is anything going to change? Or how are things? Is technology going to come in? I think technology maybe plays a big thing. As somebody said, VR. How does that come into play, right? I think we're always going to have some type of sports and dance, but what is it going to look like? So something to think about. And the final letter is E. So it should say change. So that's your quiz letter of the week. Okay. Okay. Technology could invent a new ways of dancing. Definitely, right? And be able to movement. I think the athletics have changed a lot because of technology, of not being able to get hurt, people be able to prolong themselves, have a better quality of life. I think it's really, really good there. Thanks for that comment. Okay, so if you guys have any questions or whatever, I will stick around for a little bit. There's my contact information. Remember, this week we got the quiz and we got the activity log. So make sure you get those done. I will be posting this recording directly to the home page right here. So a lesson 2 recording. So you can get that done. But thanks, everybody. And if you do need to redo the quiz, feel free to do that. Remember, the word of the week. Let me get back to this. The word of the week is change. So make sure you get that put down for your quiz. Thanks, everybody. I'll stick around for a bit to answer any questions. Sorry, what do you mean by the quiz is ET? Can you explain that?
Hello?
Yes, it is.